Hello and welcome to another edition of Film Club, and today I want to talk about the Netflix original movie, The Babysitter. Now, this movie was kind of a surprise. This wasn't in my plans. It's kind of a movie that came out of left field. I wasn't even expecting it. I didn't know anything about it, and it kind of just dropped. I think we got a trailer like a week or two before it came out, and it's not something I was ever following, so I looked at it, I was like, yeah, it seems like something I would watch. I'm happy to report that it's not terrible. It's not great. It's not the best movie I've ever seen or anything like that, but honestly, if you have about 90 minutes, it's definitely worth a watch. Now, this is very much a horror comedy, and it doesn't always mix the two genres as well as other films that have done this. You know, you think of things like Evil Dead 2. This isn't quite as good as that, obviously, or anything like that. Not even close, but I felt it was effective enough on both fronts that I actually enjoyed my time with it from beginning to end. However, I think some of the comedy bits at the beginning of the movie are kind of lame. Besides that, I think the two leads in this movie are really good. Honestly, I didn't look up their names. I know the main chick who plays the babysitter, her name is like Samara Weaving. I could be wrong on her last name. I didn't look up the boy's name that plays the young boy. Basically, what this story boils down to is the young boy in the movie. He's 12 or 13. They say, but I forget. He's kind of a nerd kid that's, bullied at school, and he's not having the best time. He's got a best friend and a girl next door type situation where you can tell this kid really likes this girl next door, but they're just friends right now, whatever. That's kind of his only friend. The rest of these kids just pick on him at school, and then he has, the hot babysitter, as you'll call her, and her name is B. She kind of helps dust him off after a certain bullying point in the movie and gives him some advice and everything, and she's like the cool, hip babysitter that every young kid would like. She's funny, she's smart, she's attractive, she helps him, through a bunch of stuff. She actually enjoys the kind of stuff that he's into. You get a, great montage of their kind of evening together after his parents go out of town and they're leaving him with this babysitter for the weekend. And everything's going great, fine. He's having a great evening, and then the evening kind of ends with she wants him to go to sleep, and he's like, I don't think I could sleep yet, so she's going to give him 2 shots of some sort of alcohol. I don't think they actually tell you what kind of alcohol it is. She gives it to him, and he says, oh, well, aren't you going to do this with me? And she's like, well, I guess. So she goes back into the kitchen to do another one. Well, he throws out his drink into the nearby potted plant and then claims that he drank it because he wants to stay up, because the whole point at this point, as he told his friend across the street, the girl whose name is Melanie, by the way, that he wants to know what goes on after he goes to bed because he's just curious, I guess. And so he goes up, whatever, she puts him to bed, and then he starts hearing this stuff going on. He hears like a doorbell, and other people come over to the house, and he looks downstairs, and he just sees it's like an innocent game of spin the bottle. And there's a group of boys and girls that are hanging out, or they're teenagers at this point. Even though, I'm going to be honest, the girl that plays the babysitter and one other character in this movie are well in their 30s, so, but whatever, that's besides the point. So they're playing just an innocent game of spin the bottle, and the babysitter character, B, her spin the bottle thing is she has to kiss everybody in the room. So she goes around kissing everybody in the room, and the last person in there is this really, really nerdy guy that they invited from their high school that I guess doesn't have a lot of friends, and when she goes to kiss him, she pulls out 2 knives and just kind of stabs him right in the head. And that's when this kid, is horrified, like, what the hell is going on here? So this movie kind of shifts gears from here, and these group of teenagers want to perform some sort of satanic ritual. What I liked about this movie is that usually when that kind of stuff comes up in movies, I get uncomfortable because of my religious background. I'm not a huge fan of this kind of stuff. What made this movie effective in the way I like this movie is that they didn't go hard into this stuff. They kind of explained a little bit of the premise of it, and especially later on she explained why she does this kind of stuff, but they don't beat you over the head with it. There's not scenes of her chanting some bullshit. There's not, all this other satanic imagery or anything like that. It's literally a couple lines of dialogue, and that's it. The rest of it is kind of led to your own imagination, and I like that part of this movie for it. So the rest of the movie is this kid kind of, running around this house in the neighborhood, so to speak, being chased by these teenagers who are literally trying to kill him. There's A lot of good, interesting death scenes in this movie, I thought. Some of the kills are actually pretty effective. I thought this was okay. Now, I don't want to spoil the rest of the movie. It does end on kind of the stereotypical end that you would expect for a movie like this, and it does have a little post-credit scene that could tie it into another one, and I thought that was a nice touch. So, I thought this movie was okay. I'm giving it 1 thumb up, which I'm surprised too. Like, I sat down, I actually sat down to watch this movie Friday night, and I was so incredibly tired I fell asleep through half of it. So, I finished it last night. And after I'd watched like the first half of it, I kind of was lukewarm on it. And once I got through the second half of it, I was more into it than I thought I was going to be. This is a weird throwback movie. It tries to be a movie from the 80s, but it's set in modern times. I think for the most part it works. It has a very stylistic approach. So there's a bunch of scenes where like words will come up on the screen, and that it's one of those kind of movies. Director Mick G, yes, that's his name. You might know him. He's done a lot of TV show work in recent years, but he also did the 2009 Terminator Salvation. He's done some other movies. I think he did that movie This Is War with Reese Witherspoon, Chris Pine, and Tom Hardy. Like, he's done different odd kind of movies that are, you know, kind of whatever, and I'd say this is in the same vein of like, whatever. Like, I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. It's not something I want to watch again anytime soon, but, you know, if you're on Netflix and you have, you know, most all of us have Netflix at this point anyways, but if you're on Netflix and you're just looking for something to watch, especially that's kind of spooky because it's, you know, the Halloween season right now, and you're waiting for Stranger Things 2, and you've already watched Gerald's Game, this is okay. This is worth a watch. I think there's some really good effective horror in it, and I think there are a couple bits of comedy in it that honestly made me laugh out loud, and I think you would too. So I'm giving this movie 1 thumbs up. It's not terrible. It's not the greatest movie I've ever seen. It's not a 2 thumb up movie, but it's definitely worth your time and worth a watch, and I'm surprised. Like, I didn't go into this expecting that, especially after watching the trailer, because I just didn't feel like it was going to be this great movie, and it ended up being pretty good. For The Babysitter, guys, 1 thumb up. It's worth a watch. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and as always, until next time.